Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to be talking about Silk, and Silk is one of the new champions in the current featured 6-star crystal. Therefore a lot more people are gaining access, therefore this is the perfect time to kind of showcase her rotations, good bad matchups, positives and negatives. So let's jump into it with the list of positives and negatives. Then we're going to have some basic rotations, some matchups, some gameplay, and then a brief summary of the champion as well. So the positives is that number one, her special attack evade is absolutely OP. You can evade fully virtually any single special attack in the game, and with it being able to refresh on every 20 hits that you deliver to your opponent, as long as you are talking about special 2s primarily, you're pretty much able to have it up for whenever you need it. And that is such a great utility ability. And if you wouldn't get hit by a special attack, it doesn't activate, which is also awesome. So for instance, when you're evading something like Dr. Doom's special 2, if you evade it perfect, sweet, you save it for the next one. If you don't, it's going to save you. Now, great heal reversal champion as well. There are some issues on some matchups based on spacing, because in order to be able to heal reverse at its best, you do need to basically keep opponents cornered and be aggressive. But overall, she definitely is a very solid heal reverser if you have her at high sig. She does have flexible rotations. Her max damage rotation definitely does go with level 3, but ultimately you can go for level 1s, level 2s, and do plenty of damage to your base hits as well. Debuff City, she does inflict a ton of debuffs, therefore synergize with Inequity and also Despair Masteries to further slow down regeneration or completely prevent it. Access to slow is always great, dealing with evades and unstoppables. And where we need to stop is definitely great base stats, because if you take a look at Silk, then you're going to notice that she has the highest attack in Science class and very solid attack, 7th highest attack in the entire game. Also, HP-wise, she's hanging around with some of the big guys. She does have effectively more health than Abomination and Hulk. I do not know why. Typically, Spider-Verse heroes have very poor base stats, or at the very least, health pools. But she does not have that going on for her, which is great. Also, crit rating is underrated because it is 750, which is quite high in itself. Would be on the upper half of Science class, but even with a single point in Dexterity, which everybody runs, it turns into 950 crit rating, which would put it already up here. And if you do run Max Disparity, then you basically have the highest crit rating in the Science class overall. So her base stats are a definite major plus for the character. And then moving on, also access to easy knockdowns. Very recently, especially if you're still in Victory Track, then Ebb and Flow knockdown with Silk is a fairly straightforward, simple thing. There's one thing that I forgot to write down in negatives for her, and must-have relic. That is a huge thing. She relies on that relic basically so much for her core rotation that even for the first time of any champion guide that I made, I went and equipped my 4-star that I was using for showcases to give her relic, because she was significantly weaker without it. It doesn't really matter which relic you equip. Ideally, it is the physical damage one, but you must have a relic on her, otherwise she's significantly gimped, and that's just a fact. Additionally, she is arguably the most skill-demanding champion released recently, I would argue. From my own personal experience, typically when I do record these fights on matchups that she can take or she does well, it really doesn't take that long. This time around, I definitely had quite a lot of learning curve to kind of like familiarize myself with the matchups, because she has a very fast-paced, aggressive playstyle, and you can kind of grasp the basic quite easily. But when it comes to more complex fights, something like Thing, for instance, where you need to count these charges and avoid some silly mistakes, or you get wrecked very fast, there is a lot happening at any given moment in these fights, and a lot that you need to keep in mind. So she is not an easy champion to play by any means. Also, she is sigil reliant on utility because that slow debuff and that great heal reversal come from her sig ability, and that is, you know, take it or leave it type of situation, but it's definitely not a positive. Damage output is quite AI reliant. That's another thing that I definitely noticed, because if AI refuses to get intercept, it's much harder to build up to your peak damage output. Now, she will always have at the very least decent damage output, but if you want to see the exceptional things, you do put quite a lot of faith in AI, whether they will follow you back for an intercept, or sometimes if you want to be like super fast, you need to kind of like just pray and hope that AI doesn't throw a special attack. Now, it is not end of the world if they do, because you will auto-evade it, but as soon as they do, your debuffs go away and you need to start building them anew, and your damage output just gets dropped down a peg. And also the fact that she basically has 0 defensive value, let's face it. She is a pure-on attacker. Some neutral things, she's one of those champions with 7-hit combo, which is actually for me personally, with the current situation of the game, a bad thing more so, and that is because of the reparry AI after your medium hit in opponent's block. The same problem that Tigra suffers from, Lady Deathstrike, Silk, a whole bunch of other champions. If you hit opponent's block, and if you have a double hit medium, and then you go for another hit in the block with your light, AI can't parry you, and that is quite a big problem, more so with Silk than I have noticed with majority of the other champions, because with Silk you often kind of want to keep the opponent in the corner, so you would want to hit their block, and it just sucks. It really does. I hope Kabam sorts it out. All of the damage is absolutely physical. There's nothing in terms of energy damage, and the fact that she's a Spider-Verse hero means that she will benefit from some interactions, and some interactions will obviously hinder her. It's just like a quite important subset of champions. For instance, she's very good against Kindred because you pause the charges for longer, but again, champions like Venom or Venom Pool and other stuff will prevent you from evading, and there are nodes and other interactions that you should be aware of. Right, let's jump in some gameplay. So the basic rotation here, I'm actually going to showcase a bit alternate rotation. We're going to see a full basic rotation in one of the latter matchups, but I did want to include this to kind of showcase that there is not that big of a difference whether you go for your Furies and interrupted heavy attacks before you drop your level 3 or you do after. Either one of those things work perfectly fine, and in most cases it does work out the way where you go for your level 3, then your full combos, then into relic, then into special attack. But there is also an option for you to go basically into relic before you throw your special 3, so your special 3 does benefit from it and you build up more physical vulnerabilities. So it is quite flexible, as I mentioned before, because in vast majority of the matchups, you can basically kind of choose whichever variant you want to go for. And this is a rank 4 Silk with like no boosts, no nothing going on for her. So I build up to 35 physical vulnerabilities, drop my level 1. We can see that half of the CMM's health is gone. And yeah, that's more or less how you play her. Again, the entire base idea is that you start building up your physical vulnerabilities on your opponent. You do want to intercept and connect your hits very fast before they go away. Then you can charge your heavy attack in the middle of the combo. That will stun them, and that is a stun debuff. It's not a passive stun. And then before you actually finish your heavy attack, in ideal situations, you're pretty much going to be throwing either your relic and maintaining your fury, or your special attack. So the entire point is you want to start your heavy attacks and you don't want to finish them. And that's why the relic is so very, very important, as we can see here. And the time against CMM is like 1 minute 45. It's not the most impressive. Let's face it, she has a very solid damage output for sure. It's not the best either though. And there are, however, plenty of helpful things for her. For instance, that her heal reversal will work passively without you trying to do anything special in majority of the fights, and that does help you in Alliance War, that does help you in Battlegrounds where opponents run willpower, because you can get in quite a lot of extra damage thanks to that, and that is a good representation here in this fight where that Deadpool's regen is getting reversed in a relatively solid rate, and here I'm just going to go for my level 2. I believe that is going to be pretty much enough there. And the average is going to finish with reversing that region. So that is a 34-second fight. In this one, I didn't even end up using my relic, but 34 seconds against that Deadpool. Again, it's not the fastest time, but it's definitely quite respectable and solid. And now we're going to be going up against that Venom the Duck. And in this fight, I will basically go for the same rotation, except that I will throw a level 1 before I build up to my level 2. Just so I have more power on my striker, and I can make sure that I use my striker on the finishing sequence. I do believe it's going to end up being an overkill though, but here we can see that she does, again, play very aggressively. Here I do make a slight mistake. I do get intercepted, but I swear to God that was because the game glitched and lagged for a second. And I felt like it skipped a couple of frames, but whatever. So here we go. We, again, charge our heavy attack, interrupt with relic, then start another combo, charge another heavy attack into the special attack, and that Venom Duck is dead. And that goes down in 46 seconds. So, not too bad. Now, some of the matchups that she can do quite a few science champions, because a lot of science champions rely on either unstoppables or evade, and since she has access to slow, she also works like a natural counter to them. Now, it took me a while to kind of figure out the rotation here, because in between the willpower healing and the fact that 4-star can't reverse the regeneration as potent as 5 or 6 stars can, even at max sig, this is a bit of a long fight, but should you be using a proper Silk, not a 4-star, you would be doing a lot better here. And here we're gonna go and see in a moment how much damage we can get from that level 3 kind of like burst and rotation, even against Thing. So what I'm trying to do is I want to align the power bar to the point where he does not have too much power when I start my shenanigans. Obviously, this isn't the fastest way, but again, this was one of those fights that I had to try quite a few times in order to get it down and well and right. So here after level 3, he does have his protection on, but that's fine, because as that protection, well, it hinders us. Our stun lasts for quite a long time, and meanwhile we're still building up our damage. And here we can see that even a 4-star against a rank 4 Thing did a very sizable chunk of damage, and then eventually basically I just go for another set and we finish him off without problems. It took me a while for sure. But let's move on to the fights that didn't take me a while, and some more fun and fast fights. Oh no, Hulkling was the one that also took a while. Never remind me. But she definitely does deal with Hulkling very well. And again, it would be even better if it was a higher star level Silk with a high sig, because then I would be much more effective reversing that regeneration and willpower healing. And obviously that block damage is absolutely too high because of the star dynamics involved, and the fact that this is a rank 5 Hulkling. So this is a rank 3 4-star against a rank 5 Hulkling. So in this match, I end up going for level 2 and then I believe a level 3 rotation, just to make sure that I have quite enough reach. And yeah, it as we can see, it does take us a while initially, but that is primarily due to the fact that it's down to star levels. But here, as soon as I get to the level 3, that's gonna be it. Here we go, and now we start my level 3 rotation. We can see that Hulkling is at 62%, which is again something that I should have just went probably from the very beginning. And we can see that health pool is completely disappearing here at this point. And that final burst is gonna do the damage that we need. So it definitely works just fine against Hulklings. And now, obviously, let's take a look at her in her element. Dr. Doom is an absolute snack for her, because she does not gain any buffs dexing, which means you don't really need to worry about getting shocked. Also, level 2s, if you want, you can just let your auto weight do the job, so you are protected against that. Additionally, access to slow means that he will probably pretty much never enter the aura of Hazarath either. So you basically kind of completely disarm every single weapon that Dr. Doom has. And yeah, it's a perfectly made counter for a fight like that. And yeah, level 2 even inflicts Thunder debuff, which completely gets rid of Dr. Doom's crit resistance as well, if you end up going with that level 2 direction. So here we can see that at this point I already have quite a few physical vulnerability debuffs built up. I think we have gotten to 34. 50 is the max, by the way. So here we got to 40, 41, and that big burst. This was a rank 5 Dr. Doom down in 1 minute. So that was a very, very, very good fast fight. Now we're going to be dealing with some Rintra. She's also extremely capable with Rintra because her slow comes into play pretty much every time Rintra is in corner, which is also when Rintra is at its most dangerous. That's when he typically goes unstoppable in these fights. When you hit him past 10 charges in the corner, and she has kind of like a perfect counter for that. Then obviously the ability to heal reverse works extremely well for chunky health pools also. And here we are. We are just dealing decent amount of damage. Again, you can let auto weight take care of the special attack if you want to. And now I have built up to 11 physical vulnerabilities. My first Fury, I'm activating level 3. And here we can see that Rintra's health pool is just starting to disappear quite fast. And the longer this kind of like combo loop continues from level 3 to Striker to another combo to another special, the more damage you do, and the Rintra just goes bye-bye. Again, in 1 minute and 3 seconds, that massive, massive health pool of Rintra just gets completely annihilated. Another cool matchup that I like is somebody like Bishop, for instance, because again, Bishop's primary danger is don't eat at level 2. Obviously, the game plan is always don't let him throw level 1 or it will delay you. But again, even if he does, you will get an auto weight that makes sure you do not take damage from that. So the fight will be slower, but at least you will not suffer from, those multiple hits in that special attack. And then if you can push him to level 2, you basically get rid of any and all danger in that fight, because every time you push him to level 2, you will have that auto weight in line, or you can make sure that you do get that auto weight in line. And here we can see that Bishop is getting absolutely rinsed. Again, this is a rank 4 6-star Bishop against the rank 3 4-star Silk. And yeah, he's getting completely destroyed here with the heal reversal, with the burst, with your own physical damage. Is a pretty much perfect Bishop counter. And another champion that perhaps a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think quite good against future Ant-Man. There's big primary reason why she works as well is the fact that she doesn't finish her combos or doesn't have to finish her combos. And obviously you can also use the auto weight to help you with that finicky special 2, which often catches people. Also, because you do intercept a lot in most fights, you will be able to get rid of all of those armors if you keep on top of them. And yeah, so ultimately it does work out quite fine. Obviously, the fact that you periodically do lose some power is quite annoying, especially if you're using a rank 3 4-star and you have lower combat power rate than your opponent. But that's fine. Still, here we can see that he doesn't really have much of his glancing, nano armors active at any point in the fight. And even if he did, again, it still isn't end of the world, because you do not finish your combo, so you don't need to worry about getting stunned from that. And now you're just going for a nice level 2 there. That put him down to like 30-some%. Here we can see that willpower is doing work for him, but that's fine. And we just need to kind of go for like our last finishing sequences here. So we get another intercept, quite sweet. So he's at this point at 27% health. Going for a level 1, 12%. That willpower is bringing him back a bit. But that's, how it goes when you use under ranked champions. Here I'm going for my level 1, basically with that heal reverse and last physical burst. And he goes down again in 145. It's not a bad time at all, considering the power dynamic. Right, so let's take a look on the spreadsheet that we used for some of the previous champions that we rated. One thing that you do need to know about Silk is she's completely useless against virtually all of the good skill defenders. Like, if you see a skill champion, just keep Silk away. Because she does not do well against anything that's to do with Silk. Sorry, that's to do with skill. When it comes to dealing with Mystics, she does pretty much everybody fine. Mephisto is one thing that you would need to worry about most, I would say, because of the incinerate damage and because of her playstyle, and obviously she's not incinerate immune. And then Man-Things you can do just fine if the power dynamic is similar. You will lose a bit of health to poison, but because you can easily push Man-Thing to level 2, you do not dex, you do not feed that Mystic Dispersion too much, and the way she deals damage, she can get rid of Man-Things relatively fast, but you will probably, in majority of the fights, end up eating one or two sets of poison. When it comes to mutants, again, she can deal with some. I will say Toad is probably a no, actually. Let's be real. Let's be real. Toad is going to be a nope. But Bishop and Havoc, she definitely does well. Domino, I would not recommend. Toad, again, I would not recommend. She is somehow, quite ironically, really capable of dealing with majority of the tricky science defenders, because, again, typically they involve something like a Wade or Unstoppable in majority of their kits, and she has the perfect answer for it. Then when it comes to skill class, dealing with something like Nova and Hulkling, sure. Cersei, not really. You do not want to do that. Null, sure. And against... sorry, this was Cosmic. And against Tex, again, it's kind of like slim pickings. But overall, again, if we kind of set Adam Warlock as our first champion to go through and see which most popular defenders he deals with in majority of situations, we can see that Adam Warlock basically just shined in tech class, which is what he's designed to counter, and then very little anywhere else. And this is one of those reasons why I think Lady Deathstrike and Silk both are significantly more valuable as champions, because they deal with a lot of other champions from different classes that they are not necessarily designed for. And that's the case with Silk again. When she deals with plenty of mystics, as she's designed to do so, you will be able to deal with a bunch of mutants, you'll deal with a bunch of skill champions, some cosmics, some techs, and that is exactly what you want in your champion. That's like, for instance, the definition of why Juggernaut is so popular right now in Alliance War Attack, because he doesn't just nuke down cosmic champions, because he also nukes down Korgs and Killmongers and Bishops and Dominos and whatnot. And that's why he's so valuable. And similar case again, maybe not necessarily to that high of an extent, is going on for both Lady Deathstrike and Silk. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of Silk as a champion. I hope you guys found this video useful. And if you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the good buttons. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about